Hey guys, Bonnie here. I want to see if I can explain how opioids work in our brain and how Suboxone works to treat opioid withdrawal using a ball and a red silo cup and a paper towel and a card. So let's see if we can do this. First, let's understand that when we take opioids like heroin or hydrocodone or Vicodin, that chemical works on a receptor in the brain. So it binds, and then there's downstream effects from that receptor. So one of the things that happens when we take opioids, or even our body produces opioids, is the brain makes and releases dopamine. So dopamine is a feel-good neurotransmitter. It's the reason that we like food and sex. So we eat some pie and our brain releases dopamine and we feel a little bit better. That's why carbs are awesome. So what happens when we're taking opioids on a chronic basis is the brain loses that ability to create that dopamine. So when we're not taking opioids, then the dopamine levels in the brain fall and we feel sick. We feel withdrawal, we feel achy, we feel like we have the flu, we feel hopeless, we have no joy, and that's withdrawal. So what happens when a person goes on Suboxone to treat opioid withdrawal is the Suboxone is itself an opioid, but it's what's called a partial agonist. That means that when it binds to this opioid receptor, it doesn't fully engage it. So it's kind of like there was a little bit of a blocker there. So when it comes in to attach, it doesn't fully deploy that. So it doesn't get all the downstream effects of the buprenorphine. That's the chemical that's in Suboxone. It doesn't get all the downstream effects from that. What it does though, is it replenishes the brain's ability to make dopamine. So a person does not have that crash. They don't feel that hopelessness, that achiness, kind of like in Harry Potter when the Dementors would come around and just all joy is drained out of the characters. They don't experience that. But they also don't experience the euphoria and then the potential for oversedation and not breathing that happens when we take regular street opioids like heroin. This card here represents naloxone or Narcan. When a person is taking opioids and they are given Narcan to reverse the effects of that naloxone, that Narcan completely blocks that receptor so that it cannot even begin to fire. And so what happens in actual life is that these molecules are binding and releasing. So as they're releasing, and a person is given Narcan by the paramedics so that they start breathing again, it blocks it, and then that heroin can't reach that receptor anymore. So I hear people say, well, if someone goes on Suboxone, that's just trading one drug for another. And I understand that perception, and to some degree, it is true. But when a person is dependent on opioids, such that when they don't take them, they experience horrendous withdrawal. What happens when they're on Suboxone is they don't get that withdrawal. They can just feel normal. So they're not high and they're not sick. And that's why at our office at Alpha Omega Elevation, we use that as just one of our tools to help people overcome addiction to opioids. We also incorporate counseling, and it's all on a foundation of faith, because I believe that as we find that relationship with God that we were designed to have, stuff in our heart starts healing and we stop needing to disconnect from life anytime things go awry. So if this video is helpful, please subscribe, share it with somebody. People out there need to know this information because there's a lot of misinformation going around about Suboxone and how it's used and what it does. And I hope that this helps clarify it with a ball, a silo cup, a paper towel, and a card. Boom.